show. And as we said earlier, we're going to be talking about the situation in Libya, the Egyptian army's intervention in Libya against Daesh targets, and the expansion of Daesh into Libya as well after the killing of 21 Egyptian Christians in Libya. What's going to happen next? How are we going to analyze the situation? Who's financing these terrorists? The weapons that have been found on the Egyptian-Libyan borders yesterday, who do these weapons belong to? Who finances them, and where were they heading to? Of course, as I said earlier, they're all rhetorical questions. We know the answers, but today we need to discuss further concrete solutions. We're going to be expecting to wait and see what the UN Security Council is going to say regarding Libya. But of course, there have been some news that 5 countries at least are looking for a political solution rather than the military intervention. How far is that going to be? We're very much delighted to have joining us here in the studio this morning Ambassador Mohammed Ahazly, member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador.
Good morning.
And Ambassador Yahya, he's a political analyst as well. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Good morning, sirs. And we start with Ambassador Mohammed Ahazly. Sir, you have witnessed, of course, the developments that took place by the beheading of the 21 Egyptians in Libya, and after that, in retaliation, Egypt bombarded targets of Daesh in Libya. So how do you read the developments, and are you expecting an international coalition, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has called yesterday in his interview with the French radio, about the necessity of having an international coalition to fight the increasing threats of Daesh in Libya?
I think, the strike by the Egyptian Air Force is a first step towards the solution. This is building deterrence. This is a sign that Egypt will not tolerate anybody killing its citizens in cold blood, and that there will be a price to be paid for every drop of Egyptian blood spilled. So I think this is setting the rules of the game and building deterrence. Egypt, since the 1990s, has been calling for an international conference to discuss terrorism.
Indeed.
And unfortunately, the Western world did not heed to our call until after what happened in Paris. They felt that they are going to be also scorched by terrorism, so they started moving. I think terrorism has become an international plague that is threatening every civilized country. If you look at the victims of terrorism lately, you'll find Japanese, you will find French, you'll find Americans, you will find Africans, Boko Haram in Nigeria, you will find Arabs. So it is an international phenomenon that has to be combated and faced by a united international front of all the civilized nations against barbarism and against terrorism. I don't feel very comfortable with an international force fighting in Libya.
Why?
I think this is, returning to the pre-colonial era, when France was responsible for its African colonies, Italy was responsible for colonies,
Britain,
especially in Libya. I don't feel comfortable with this. I think that we have the power, the Arabs. Egypt has one of the strongest armies in the Middle East. You have Saudi Arabia, you have Morocco, you have Algeria. All of these, I think we have the manpower, we have the material, we have the will to fight our own battle on our own land. What we need is international support, political support. but I don't feel comfortable with foreign troops on Arab soil.
Ambassador Yahya, now apart from the victims that you know are being beheaded or tortured or captured because of the terrorist groups, and it's, as a political analyst, I mean, let's be more clear about who invented and created these terrorists in the first place, whether it's starting from Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, or even now Daesh, which is a wing of Al-Qaeda as well. Now, who finances these terrorists, and how can the Arabs together have one united stance towards putting an end to the so-called US, who many believe are really the creators of these terrorist groups?
Well, we have to look after the source of this financing. Who has the capacity to finance these groups? Many terrorists, they have many bases and camps. They receive weapons, they receive money, they receive training. Who is capable to do so and to finance all these costs? The terrorist nets and groups are not working for nothing. They are working and receiving money all the time. They want to accommodate their members and to pay them and to train them, and all these logistics to create a small army like these groups, what's happening now in Syria and Iraq and Libya. They are like small armies. So, of course, they need financing, they need logistics. Most of the, for example, let's say, if it's, we are talking about Libya, who is capable to do so in Africa, for example? Nobody, or very few countries which are not interested in doing so. So it's coming from outside the region, from outside the Arab world, from outside Africa. They are financed from the outside world. So it's not very difficult to see who is financing. Of course, all the intelligence agencies and even the press in the whole world know about who is financing them, who is controlling even the banking systems in the whole world.
And now that it's so clear, why isn't anybody doing anything about it?
Well, because it's their interest. Let's say that these superpowers or international powers, they had very loyal and puppet regimes in this region. But when the Arab Spring came and get rid of Ben Ali, get rid of Mubarak, get rid of many of these leaders, of course they lost domination, they lost influence, they lost billions of dollars coming from the region towards their banks, towards their governments. Because of these revolutions, they lost their loyal and leaders in the region. So when they tried once again to control the revolutions and the Arab Spring, and they brought their own also agent governments like the Muslim Brotherhood regime here in Egypt. And when we had another revolution on the 30th of June 2013, of course, once again they lost billions of dollars. They lost very huge influence in the region and in the whole world. So it's a big war. It's not a small thing. They are financing, so they lost like 2 times now in very short time, like 3 years. So they want now to, it's coming now to the material or war effort against, explicitly and very clear against Egypt and other countries in the Middle East like Syria and Iraq. They want to destroy these countries, they want to destroy their infrastructure, they want to destroy their armies, they even want to destroy the society, the material of the society. They want sectarian wars, they want Muslim against Christians, they want Shiites against Sunnis, they want Sunnis against each other. So now we are in a very explicit and very clear war. Even it's a little bit silent, it's not declared officially, but it's a clear war against these countries to get rid of them, to destroy the last important Arab countries in the region. So we are in front of row. I believe that what happened is the first step for in a long war. We have to expect the wars yet to come. We have to fight with every effort we have to protect our territory, to protect our people inside and outside. It's not easy. We'll face the greatest powers in the world, but I believe also we have the will, as my ambassador said. We have the will and we have the capability to do so, and we don't have other choice, unfortunately.
Mr. Ambassador, can you believe that the revival of the joint Arab defense agreement should be applied nowadays in order to face the increasing threat, which is not only against Egypt, but against the whole Arab world?
I think that the revival of the Joint Arab Defense Pact should have been applied 30 years ago, not today.
Yes.
We have seen lately intransigence on the Arab territories and on the Arab people, whether by terrorism or whether by Israel or by Turkey or by several other sources. We have, due to the non-activation of this pact, we have lost control over our territory.
Yes.
Turkey, whenever they feel threatened by anything inside Iraq or inside Syria, they cross the borders and they attack sovereign countries without. You have seen what Israel has done in Gaza. We have seen attacks by Israel on Sudan, on Syria, and without any kind of Arab response. We are today seeking international intervention in Iraq and in Syria and in Libya at a time when the Arab countries, the Arab area is the area that spends most money on armament. The amount of money that the Arabs have put on armament is tremendous. And the paradox is that in spite of that, we are the most threatened and the most insecure